Sean McCollet.
Yes, sir.
Where did the modeling interest come from?
You know, growing up, I was always interested in fashion because my mother was a seamstress. So I was exposed in terms of like the design process and just being raised by somebody who was so passionate about the industry and somebody who I'm sure dreamt of being such a big designer herself. So I kind of had like that natural interest in fashion, but I didn't quite, you know, specifically box it as to whether I want to be a model or whether I want to be a designer or whatever, but I just had the natural interest. And so because I started out in the entertainment industry as a publicist and artist manager, it was kind of like a natural transition for me, because a lot of people would tell me that you should get into modeling because of your height, your looks, or whatever. And when I eventually did, thanks to the amazing Click Leonce, that's when I was like, okay, this is kind of like a 360 moment for me. You know, I'm now in the industry that my mother ultimately wanted to be in. So yeah, that's kind of like my journey.
So it wasn't specifically I would like to be a model. It was like, this is an industry that I would like to partake in.
It was never specifically like I want to be a model or I want to be a big shot in fashion or whatever. No, there was just a genuine interest, and I never pursued it. And modeling really chose me, and that has been the beauty of my journey, that I never chased anything that I've received. You know, when I got signed, that's when I started putting in the work, because I loved it so much since I was a kid. I had the natural respect for it, that I knew that, okay, now I'm in it, now I've been signed, I need to work hard, I need to attend the castings, I need to build relationships with the photographers, designers, producers. So that's when the chasing, so to speak, started for me. But I never outright chased being, you know, a model.
Yeah. Where did you meet Lucifer?
I used to manage,
AKA
Thick Leon. I used to work with Boiti. This was like years ago, and Thick Leonce used to do Boiti's publicity shoots because they're cousins. And so every time we'd shoot with Boiti, she'd be like, "When I Sean, I need to do a shoot with you." And I'd be like, "No ways, look at me," you know. And so eventually I agreed, and I looked at the pictures. I was like, oh wow, maybe there's
something
maybe there's something there, maybe she has a point. And so that's when I kind of like decided to send the pictures to a few agencies, and 3 agencies got back to me, and I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. So I got signed, and I remember I did my very first fashion week immediately after that, closing for the amazing Touch of Bling, and it's just been fashion weeks, campaigns, editorials, commercials since then. Yeah.
What scale did you use to pick between the 3 agencies that were interested in you?
So I remember I met up with the 2 out of the 3 agencies that said yes to me, and the first agency said to me that I'm a commercial model. They outright said to me that I should forget about runway. I'll never see or be on the runway, and for me that was a bit of a sting on my self-esteem, because for me, modeling, when I pictured modeling, I pictured Naomi Campbell, Tyson Beckford, you know, the Polo campaign, and Naomi on the runway. So those were kind of like my references for when it came to modeling. And so being told that I was not going to be on the runway was kind of like, maybe you're not the right agency for me, because the dream is that. And so then I met up with the second agency, and the second agency said to me that we're going to try you out for both commercial and runway, because you have a look that might work for both, but we just don't know how clients will receive you. And so that for me was the one major reason as to why I ended up signing up with the agency that I did. So immediately afterwards, funnily enough, I shot a campaign for an insurance company, and then I got booked for Fashion Week, which I think kind of proved to them that I could actually do both. I could exist in the editorial world as well as the commercial world.
Yeah. So essentially you started off doing commercials
and then it's
but you just didn't want somebody to say to limit you to one category.
I didn't want to be limited in one category because I believe, especially because when I was in the process of being signed, like I said earlier on, I had such a profound respect for the fashion industry as a whole that I did my research. All the years of watching America's Next Top Model, when I started putting them to use, and all those little references. So I went online and I saw that people like Tara Banks, who also started out in high fashion doing runway, and then they moved because they had bigger breasts and they were becoming more curvy. They moved to swimwear, and I was like, I want to be able to exist in all those worlds, like the same way Tara did, the same way Naomi did, the same way Tyson did. As much as those people are more on an international scale, but nobody boxed them. And in order for you to be great, you shouldn't allow people to put you in a box. So I did that research and I told myself that I wasn't going to allow any agency for that matter to box me, and that was the major reason as to why I decided to just sign up with them. And I started out with commercials and did runway as well. So that has kind of like been my career, as much as now I'm known, funnily enough, for my runway work and my runway walk. It's just been great that I'm still able to go to a commercial casting and be able to go to a runway casting, even though now I barely go to runway castings because I've been able to prove myself, and so that has been like the great part of my journey.
Yeah. And how did you know to protect yourself or to understand how the modeling agency industry works? Because essentially it sort of works like a record company.
Yeah.
You come in, somebody believes in you, they invest in you, they send you to test shoots, that they pay with photographers, or maybe when they register you in other sister companies internationally, they pay for your flights, they kit you in a model house and all those things. And then you're working at a minus.
Yeah.
Because you're working, somebody's investing you in hopes that you will make it and they will take
the first test shoot is paid for by the agency, the Z cars are paid for by the agency. So because of my knowledge as an artist manager, because I dealt with talent, I was able to put all that knowledge that I had, from managing artists into my own career. So I knew that, first of all, you cannot sign with an agency that doesn't believe in you. Even with me, I would sign artists that I believed in, because I knew that the minute I didn't sign up with them, I signed up with artists that I believed in, because the minute that I knew that if I didn't believe in the talent, it was never going to work. So the agency that believed in me and said to me, you know what, we're going to put you in both runway as well as commercial. I knew that, okay, this means that they can see the vision, they know that I have the potential, so let me give them a shot. So it was due to just me taking my own knowledge of the industry, of the entertainment industry, and now kind of shifting it into fashion, and just trusting that these people believe in me enough to be able to invest their time and money ultimately into my own career.
Yeah, so essentially it was easier for you because you came from a background of managing talent.
Absolutely. Because I managed talent, I knew exactly that I shouldn't have to pay the agency for anything. There's no startup fees. A lot of people, even to this day, still sign up with agencies and they have to pay a rate. I'm like, that's not how it works, you just pay for the photo shoot because obviously the photographer needs to be paid. So you need to pay for the Z cards because it needs to be printed. So everything needs to make sense. So because I knew that, because I also had to do my clients' portfolios, I had to do everything for them. So I knew what costs had to be incurred when you are establishing a talent. So I was able to just like sign up with the right agency for me. And I can literally sit here and honestly say I've never made a bad decision when it came to agency selection, because I was an established artist manager who knew how the industry works.
Yeah. And then can you speak on how it works when you have a mother agency in one city like Johannesburg?
Yeah.
And then I know you went to London.
Yeah.
And you had a sister
sister agency. So
how does it work?
So for me, I was signed with 20 Model Management. They were my mother agency for the longest time, and I remember we started having conversations. I had 2 great seasons on runway. I did SA Menswear Week where I did like 7 shows, and I opened and closed for Augustine, which was the first for SA Menswear Week, and then I came to Joburg and I did AFI, casted by the amazing Andy Manxiwa, who is a former supermodel herself. We love Andy. So because I had such a great season with AFI and SA Menswear Week, and I started having conversations with people like Andy, people like Stevelle Mack, and about just growing my career and what I needed to do. And due to the conversations that I had and the advice that they gave me, was that you cannot call yourself a real fashion model if you just are modeling in Johannesburg. You need to get a taste of Cape Town. You also need to get a taste of just the international model scene. And Andy obviously also was once signed with Ford Models, and Stevelle discovered in Jamaica, worked in the US, and is in South Africa. So their opinions carried so much weight, and I understood that in order for me to one day sit with the big dogs, I've gotta follow in their footsteps. So I started having conversations with my agency, 20 Model Management, who are about traveling overseas, and they told me that obviously because they're my mother agency, they can hunt for an agency for me that side, and they can also get me an agency in Johannesburg, but they are contracts involved when you're already signed, when you have a mother agency. So they ultimately they still get a percentage of the work that you get, as much as the sister agency is also going to get money from whatever jobs you do. However, it just makes it easier for you to get signed. So it's all about the relationships that your mother agency has with other international agencies or local agencies. And so for me, 20 had a relationship with ICE Model Management in Johannesburg, so they flew me to Joburg and I got signed with ICE. And then I went to London and they set up meetings for me with few agencies. I went there with my portfolio, which was the first time I ever really generally used my portfolio, because in Johannesburg you never use your portfolio, you only use your Z card. So it was interesting to get there and meet up with agencies, and they just flip through the book and they don't even maintain eye contact with you, but they just saying, okay, who shot this, when was this, whatever, okay, thank you for coming. And so I got rejected a lot. That was so hectic for me, because I just had an amazing season in South Africa, and I was fast becoming that guy, and people were publishing articles about how much of an amazing runway model I was. And to just arrive in this country where you're competing with people from generally everywhere in the world, and everybody is fighting for that one spot. As a black male model, you feel it because you're a minority that side. Here in South Africa, as much as we are not competing for the same spots, we're competing for 10 spots in a fashion show. There you're competing for 2 if the designer was to use 2 black male models. And so that was very, very hard for me, but fortunately I pulled through, and I was able to sign with them models, and they took such amazing care of me, and was a fit model for London Collection Man, where I met incredible designers, and I also did Graduate Fashion Week, which was my very first time being on the runway in London. And so I got to experience just to polish my runway skills, because that side they teach you, they have a runway trainer. So I thought I was great already, but no, so they taught us how to walk, and they gave us tips, and I found that the difference between international male models and South African male models is that South African male models get on the runway whilst being aware of who they are. It's like, oh, I am Sean, and whoever is sitting in the audience knows who I am, so I have to maintain that swag or whatever. And in London, you were taught you need to forget that, you leave it all behind. You are there to sell the garment, you are the mannequin. So what sets you apart from the model that just walked and the model that's going to walk behind you? So that's how you distinguish yourself, because you need to treat each and every casting as a fashion show. You go there, you sell the garment. You're in all black or all white, the standard modeling clothes, but your job is to walk like you're selling that garment. And those words have just always been in my head. So whenever I'm on the runway, I don't care who's in the audience. I don't care about people saying, "Oh, that's shown on the runway." It's really not about me. It's about the designer and it's about the garment. And I just have to give 110 for those 30 seconds of, well, not even 30 seconds, for those 20 seconds on the runway, because that is what it's all about. So those are kind of like the lessons that I got from just working in London. Yeah.
You've been working in Johannesburg. You are doing some stints in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And other places.
Yes.
And then you're in London.
Yes.
At what stage do you start seeing the money coming in?
I think things changed for me when I came back from London. That's when, because my runway rate obviously went up, because now I'm getting paid as an international model for Fashion Week instead of a local model rate. So that's when the rates kind of changed, and started seeing a bit of money. But obviously, just like with runway in South Africa doesn't pay a lot unless you're doing a lot of shows. So you're getting your money's worth if you're doing 5 or more shows. And obviously, being a male model, Fashion Week revolves around women's wear, honestly speaking. So there are like 5 shows that are dedicated to men. So if you're not doing all those shows, you're not making the money at all. So I started seeing like a change when I came back from London. I'll never forget it. I came back and I didn't cast for Menswear Week, which was for me a huge deal, because normally you'd have to go to the casting and work for the producers and get told that you are being optioned, and you have to wait and see which deal. I didn't go through that process at all. I came back and I was told that you're doing Fashion Week, the producers want you, we just need to wait and find out what your schedule is and which designers you're working for. And that for me was just amazing, because I didn't have to work so much for the little money that we get anyway. And so that's kind of like when I started seeing the difference, and the campaign started rolling in as well. Started shooting commercials, and it just became, I think it kind of, me going to London put me on the map as a reputable model in South Africa, because people were able to look at my work and say, actually, he is good, actually he can deliver, you know. And sometimes it takes you a long time as a male model to be able to achieve that kind of respect from the producers and the designers. And now I have amazing relationships with all those people. I don't even have to work as much to be booked, due to the fact that I was able to give it my all then. So now the money just started rolling in, and obviously you get more money in commercials, campaigns than runway. But my runway career ultimately just paved the way and made it easier for me to be able to book everything else. So yeah, that's how the money started. I started making money as a model. Yeah.
Do your parents understand what you do as a model?
You know what? Because like I mentioned my mother earlier, who unfortunately passed away when I was 13. But my dad has been very supportive. He's also lives in the UK. So I remember when I went to the UK, and he lives in Leeds, but I had to be in London obviously for work. He would insist on me going to Leeds, which is like a 5-6 hour drive away, because he just wanted to show off like his son, who is now this, you know, fashion model. So I think he doesn't really get it, but he's just proud because he sees the pictures, he sees, you know, he just thinks it's called glitz and glam. And so I don't think he gets it, but he definitely has been like the most supportive person, really. And my siblings, fortunately, they get it. They're here in South Africa. They are also just as supportive. In the beginning, though, my brother was just like, "Is there money though? Because you're a guy in this industry. It's a female dominated industry." And I was like, there could be money, you know, and it's all about capitalizing off of that, you know. And so the mission ultimately is not just to be a model, but is to make sure that I take that and turn it into something else, and I make money off of it, because all my idols, they've done exactly just that. Tara creating America's Next Top Model, Naomi coming up with the face, and also doing charity work that revolves around her being a model,
Fashion relief,
so fashion for relief, where you get supermodels like Maria Borges, superstars like Didi walking for a cause. So for me, it was ultimately just saying, you know what, I want to be able to be the best that I can for my country, so that I can also leave a legacy, a lasting legacy for that. So right now I'm in the process of doing that without saying a lot, but I'm also in the process of creating something out of this incredible modeling career that I've had.
Modeling is not something that you do full time.
Yeah.
If you're not modeling, what is it that you do?
I am also a host of a show called Instapreneurs on SABC One. It airs every Thursdays at 6 p.m. and it basically is it's a show where we profile South African influencers, and we find out how they make money by using social media, because we live in a digital world now. So we profile people like Big Cleonce, people like Mihlali, people who have just taken social media and turned it into a business. So it's an incredible show, and I'm so excited that everybody has received it so well. We are now the 12th most watched show on SABC One, pulling in 2.9 million viewers, which is great. So that's what I do. I'm also the content producer of the show, so which is great, because I'm able to be involved in the creative process of it all. So me being an artist manager and having to create content around my artists, PR wise, I enjoy doing that. So I've been able to also put those skills into Instapreneurs. Yeah.
And then modeling, it's one of those industries where most of the time you're in the room, you're spoken over, people are speaking of you, but never ask you a question, or you never expected to speak or voice an opinion. How long did it take you to understand that it's not personal, it's not about you?
It took me a while, I won't lie. I'll never forget my very first casting for SA Fashion Week. The iconic and legendary Lucilla, who is really as tough as they come when it comes to this industry. She is very vocal about what she's unhappy with and how she wants her models to be. And it was a first for me to just deal with somebody who is so direct. And it was very hard for me to not take it personally. Even SA Menswear Week, I think, was a bit harder, because it's a bunch of guys in one room, and you are told to take off your clothes, and you're all standing there in underwear, and the producers and the designers, everybody is in the room, they're staring at you, and you can hear them, too tall, too dark, big whatever, big nose, oh he's gained weight, oh whatever. And it's like you work so hard at the gym, you work so hard to look the way you do, only for you to still be critiqued, and for people to just excuse all the hard work that you put into it. So in the beginning, it was very, very hard for me to just understand that, I guess they're looking for a certain look, and if you don't have it, they're never gonna go for you. So it's not personal. But in the beginning, it was very hard, until I got to a point where I was so comfortable with myself that everything they said just became noise, so I'd get there and stand there with the guys, and if I'm not booked, on to the next one. Okay, we're going to lunch, let's go eat, whatever. So models are really one of the strongest people around. I remember watching a documentary by John Smalls where she says we are conceived as these beautiful beings, and we sell confidence when ultimately we have huge self-esteem. We don't have any self-esteem because of the fact that we are constantly being judged for our looks. So it just toughens you up. It toughens you up being critiqued on the way you look, and you can't help but just be strong. It's either you can take it or you can't. There is no in between with modeling or something. Are you a model? Kinda. No. It's either you are or you're not. And if you are, you take the critique and you grow from it. And if you can't take it, you just leave the industry. So if you're gonna go for a casting at SA Fashion Week and Lucila's telling you that your thighs are too big and you can't take it, you clearly are not meant to be in this industry, because that's just generally how it is. So you learn over time to just ignore the noise. You take the critique, and you ignore it. Especially with me, when I decided that I was gonna buff up for TV, when I started realizing that, okay, I'm going to be on SABC1, so I'm going to build, change my image and be more of a sex symbol. I knew very well that I was going to have problems in terms of booking runway, which is what I'm known for. But I ultimately made this decision to just bulk up, and whoever books me, because the body may have changed, but the walk is still the same. And fortunately enough, amazing designers like David Lale, Efimo, all these guys who I've worked for over the years, they they were like, okay, cool, we get it, you're now on TV, so they still book me for the job. So yeah.
And then at what age did you realize that you were beautiful, like you had something that you could make money off just based on your physicality?
Do you want the honest answer?
Yeah, that's why we're here.
I legit realized it this year. Hey, I think all this time I've just been in, I don't want to say in denial, but you just don't see how people view you, So I always knew that obviously, like, I provoke a certain reaction when it came to like women and a few guys, but I didn't see what they saw. So, and I'm grateful that I didn't, because I think that humbles you as well, when you just don't realize it. So it's only this year where I just got an overwhelming reaction being on TV, Instagram, all of that. You just start to look at yourself differently, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. This is what they see, but I didn't see it for the longest time. I just always struggled with what is it that they see. But it's only literally this year where I've been able to confidently look in the mirror and say, okay, cool, I get it. This is what they see, and this is why they follow me. This is why they booked me for Instapreneurs. This is, this is why I'm always booked for these underwear shows and all that. It's because I look this way. So yeah.
You didn't see it for the longest of time, but you were like, give me the money.
I was like, give me the money. I'll take the money. I'll take it. If you say I am sexy, then I guess I am sexy. But I do not see myself that way, because it's because you're always dealing with people telling you that you are too whatever for that. You're too light, you're too dark, you're too big, you're too small, you're too whatever. So you just never have a moment to sit there and actually appreciate what you see, and so because being on TV exposed me to a different market where people, not even people, but the people in the industry, because I'm a model, it's already like, oh my gosh, this guy is whatever, so they appreciated my looks more than they critiqued them, and that was a first for me. So that gave me the opportunity to be able to be like, okay, I get it, this is what they see.
Sean, what would you say is one of the most challenging things to be working in an industry where you have to portray a dream to sell a product or a service based on components like youth and beauty, or a level of beauty, whatever,
perfection ultimately,
yes, exactly, whatever, however you define beauty or good looks.
I think for me, because I love what I do, so I'm able to, because also with my background as a publicist, you are selling the artist and you're selling a certain image of the artist. So for me, the challenge obviously for an ordinary person would be where do I place myself in this industry, and how do I sell myself? Who am I? Am I the guy next door, or am I the aspirational but out of reach guy? Am I the inspiring guy that people want to be friends with? How do I sell myself? So I found myself just like trying to put myself in a box as to, okay, this needs to be me, and I can't get out of that shell. And then I was like, no, but when you started out in the industry, you didn't want anybody to box you, so why are you boxing yourself? So I think the challenge just came out of me now trying to sell perfection, because being human and being relatable means that you have to allow people to see you not being perfect, and having a background as a model where you are selling perfection. The skin is perfect, the body has to be perfect, the lighting has to be perfect, everything about you has to be perfect so that you can get the perfect shot. And whereas now with being on TV, I'm like, okay, I want to be relatable. I want people to see me and be able to want to have a conversation with me. Flip, I'm on SABC1, the most watched channel in South Africa, and those viewers want a person that they can relate to. So the shift just came from the challenge just came from being able to allow people. I'm still struggling with it, but allow myself to just be relatable on Instagram. And it's the little things that matter, on your stories, what you post and what you allow people to see, and how much access you give people. But that has just been my one struggle as to how much do I let people in so that I can be relatable enough so that I can grow my following, because ultimately my goal is just to be, as much as I'm being viewed as the sexy guy or whatever, I still want to be the relatable guy that people can see themselves having like a drink with, but I know for a fact that when I was just only doing modeling, I struggled with just maintaining that perfection, because you wake up and it's all about when am I, how many hours am I spending at the gym, what am I eating, what do I do to take care of myself, how do I get better, like, as it can be just a tedious process. So eventually when I got over it, I was just like, okay, cool, let's also take care of the personality and the inside, where I can just focus on just being a better human being overall, instead of just having to worry about the aesthetic parts of it. That's why I'm no longer as hard on myself about how many times I work out and the gym and all that. Now everything just happens and it comes naturally. It's no longer the driving force for my career, where I have to just be like so hectic on myself. Because remember, back when I still just did modeling, it was all about, it's fashion week, okay, cool, crunch time, I need to make sure that I'm eating this, I'm working out like 3 hours a day, and I'm doing all these things to myself so that I can be perfect on the runway. And now it's like, yeah, I still worry and I still go to the gym and I take care of myself, but I'm no longer as hectic on myself as I used to be. I think also that just comes with growing in the industry, where you just allow where I don't allow people to dictate how I should look or feel. And that has been just the great part of it all, like I mentioned earlier, with just having relationships with certain producers and designers, where they now give you the respect because they know that you've actually given a lot to the industry already. So yeah.
And then in most instances, it's actually the people who work in the industry that they call it frivolous or self-absorbent, or fake, or whatever.
Yeah.
What has been your experience, and what?
I think, I get why people would call it that, but you know what? Like we've been saying, fashion is an aesthetics industry. It's about looks. It's about perfection. It's about it's cosmopolitan. It's glamorous. It's so because of that, there is no way that fashion cannot be cliquey. There's no way fashion cannot be frivolous. There's no way that fashion people cannot be fake, because it's a superficial industry in its essence. It's an aesthetics industry. It's not about the inside and the personality. So if you're looking for people who are genuine and who are all about Super Soul Sunday, then you're in the wrong industry. So and that's why I've been able to just have amazing relationships with a lot of people in the industry, because I just was able to understand that this is the industry that I'm in. So I am not going to expect people I'm not going to expect each and every person to connect with me on a personal level when I'm in an industry that's all about the art side, and yes, I've made amazing friendships and relationships with people that I've met in the industry, and I've been able to connect with them on a personal level and deep level, but I don't expect that from everybody. So the minute you expect it from everybody, that's where you just get disappointed, because people will show you that it's an aesthetics industry. So that's how I've been able to just kind of like maneuver myself in the industry. So for me, it's okay that fashion is that. It's okay that it's fake. It's okay that people are, it's frivolous and whatever, because it's an aesthetics industry. So that's how we found it, and that's how it's always gonna be. If it was not about the art side, then we wouldn't be saying models need to be 185 in order for them to be booked. We wouldn't say the girls shouldn't have big boobs or whatever. There wouldn't be all these requirements for people to work in the industry. But because there are those requirements, it's due to the fact that it is an aesthetics industry. It's about the look. So yeah.
And cultural radar, what do you think is moving the needle right now?
In fashion, or just culturally? Generally, I think, looking at it from just a South African point of view, I'm seeing that a lot of us, even the international brands, are just falling more and more in love with just originality, and a lot of our South African designers are now also just going back to their own cultural heritage, like we've seen with Rich Nisi. His collections are all like named after his home language, which is Tsonga. We're seeing, with the likes of Teme Magugu, pardon me, winning, the Louis Vuitton award. So it's due to the fact that these guys are all just have gone back home, and they're taking what's authentically them and presenting it to the world. So we are not trying to catch up with the world. The world is now meeting us halfway, due to the fact that we are presenting our authentic stories to the world. And I think that's what's moving us. Even the likes of Burna Boy, if Burna Boy sounded like Drake, he wouldn't be received the way that he is right now. He's the biggest African artist right now, who is making it and internationally, due to the fact that he's authentically Nigerian. So there's I think there's that shift and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it so much that we are allowing ourselves to just be Africans, and people need to accept us for just that. And that's what's shifting us, I think, at the moment. And I'm glad the world is catching up, because we just have a lot of amazing talent that is yet to be seen by the world. Yeah.
I believe in
love. I believe in love.
How do you define love for yourself?
Love is unconditional. Love conquers. Love believes, love gives, love forgives, and love is patient, and love is imperfect, and that's why I believe in it, because you can bask in it, and it allows you to be yourself, and it still allows you to be a better version of yourself, because it's forgiving, because it is patient, because it is kind. So yeah, I believe in love.
Are you in love?
I am in love, yeah. After saying all that, I think if I said no, it would be like, oh, what a liar. Yes, I am in love.
Beautiful, and I think we'll leave it on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.